Hello and a warm welcome to the Healing Healthcare Authors Tour with your host, myself, I'm Dina Redinger, and Sharon Weinstein. We are co-authors of the book, Healing Healthcare, Evidence-Based Strategies to Mend Our Broken System. Nurses remain the backbone of healthcare, and little has been done or even studied to remedy a system that's in crisis. If this is not addressed now, humankind will suffer. This book is packed with solutions to the problems that plague our healthcare system today, the problems that lead to those troubling sentiments among prospective nurses. Nurse leaders share their experiences, their thoughts, their evidence, but most importantly, their strategies to ensure the health of our healthcare system. What you'll find within are actual steps for fixing a system that's currently suffering in silence. We must get to this book and get this into the hands of those that are making those decisions. But before we start, we want to acknowledge you. We want to thank you for joining us today. We have viewers from all over the globe, so please use the chat, let us know where you're from, and you'll see this in the replay on LinkedIn, and you can still comment and you can still respond. So I want to hand this over to my beautiful co-host, Sharon Weinstein, so she can introduce our guest.
Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful welcoming statement. That was great, Dina. Today's guest is Nikki Akparewa, RN, MSN, MPH. She is a health equity education coach, nurse entrepreneur, and clearly an influencer in every healthcare space. Nikki, whose chapter on normalizing bias training is a part of our workforce section. She's the founder of Transform Nursing. With almost 20 years of experience in coaching, leading, and developing nurses, she focuses on equipping nurses with inclusive leadership skills by providing them with the tools to address health inequities confidently. She is an author and visionary. Nikki is a graduate of the University of Washington, as well as Johns Hopkins University School of Nursing and Public Health. She is a clinical instructor at the University of Maryland School of Nursing. Welcome, Nikki. We are so glad you're with us today.
Thanks, Dina. Thanks, Sharon. This is really an exciting journey. I'm so happy to be here with you both today. Thank you so much for having me.
We love that. And speaking of journey, we want to know, and we want the listeners to know, why did you even want to join us on this crazy journey we're on anyway? Because we want to fix broken healthcare.
Well, I think you already sort of answered that question, Dina. This is really about solutions-oriented approaches. A lot of the times I feel we have taken all of our problems, said that there's nothing that we can do to really fix it. So we just kind of keep rehashing the same conversations. This work is very different. This work was taking a culmination of nurses coming together to think about solutions to real life problems that we have in healthcare instead of just rehashing the same kinds of conversations over and over. So I was thrilled to be invited to be a part of this journey. And I'm just so excited to learn more about what we can do together as nurses.
That's awesome. Awesome. Sharon, I know you want to ask Nikki a question.
I do. You know, I mentioned to you before we started, Nikki, that I spoke at a meeting last week where incivility was one of the topics. You state that our greatest challenge is our inability to embrace how systemic acceptance of incivility is affecting our workforce and those for whom we care. Is there a way to repair this? And if so, how do we repair incivility?
Yes, I mean, that's a great question, right? Like I said, it's our acceptance of this incivility. It's not that we don't know. It's not that we're not aware that nursing is laden with workplace violence, with bullying types of behavior, with incivility in many ways. It's just that we have not really had maybe the courage or the motivation to really do something about it systemically. So some of the things that I talk about in the chapter, I mean, the title is Normalizing Bias Training. So that's one approach. Make this a part of what we do. When we begin to normalize that we know there are going to be disagreements, especially across generations, especially, with diverse persons and realities and perspectives, then we have to normalize that. We have to know that, honor that first. And when we know that, then we can start thinking about strategies to actually doing something about it. So for me, one of the biggest things is really acknowledging what we're seeing, including our historical issues, right? So nursing as a whole has really been doing a lot of work around racial reckoning in healthcare. That's really vital. Keep doing that work, build those bridges, continue to include representation in nursing. We need more representation from the C-suite down and from the other way, from bedside up. So have representation of diverse thoughts and persons and ethnic demographics, et cetera. All of those things really matter to creating a critical consciousness so that we're thoughtful and we're mindful of how we want to practice nursing, what we really want the future of nursing to look like, because that's what's really important. What do we want the future to be for us? Is it going to be the same story of nurse retention as an issue, patient safety? Or are we going to change that narrative? Are we going to say we are going to own repairing our system and own repairing our nurses as a profession and really do the work together?
That's interesting, because I was just going to ask you that question. We often ask, who owns fatigue? Is it the healthcare system? Is it leadership? Is it the nurse themselves? Who need to take responsibility? Who owns incivility? It's all of us, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's all of us. And I mean, it's top down, it's bottom up, it's wide, right? It's everyone. And the patients feel it because naturally, as we're grieving, our grief passes on, right? Our hardships, our moral distress, all of that gets carried on. So we have to do the work of healing ourselves first. That's really important. And finding ways that we can mend each other instead of tearing each other down is really important. So if we can help a colleague, if we can honor a leader or someone that's on the front lines for the work that they're doing, that goes a long way to show them that they're accepted, that they belong, that their vision and their voice matters and it's valued as well. And so one of the simplest things that I tell other leaders is active listening is so important, but it's not enough just to listen. We have to listen to do action, right? That's the active part of listening. So persons feel that they are included when they are listened to and we act upon the concerns that they are expressing. So as leaders, we need to think better about how flexible we are, right? How accountable and transparent we are in our interactions with all of our staff. I think all of those things help to create an inclusive culture. Persons are like, it's okay to have a bad day here, right? I'm safe still when I have a bad day, right? Like all that stuff. But when we don't feel that incivility part just shows up when we feel resigned or we feel as though we're going to be retaliated against if something happens. And so it's really important, I think, for us to be mindful of how we handle each other, being gracious. We don't know what each one of us has come through to get to a certain place. Right? Just those things that repair civility are sort of almost common sense things.
Yeah, they are.
It is, but I want to jump in here because it's so important. Sharon and I, worked on the book and wrote the book, Design Think.
Let's see that
about
book.
a year ago, and we were you have to
pull it back a little, pull it back a little.
But we really focused on small groups of women being able to make sure they're solving the right problem at the right time. And like you said, there's so much of our history and our past that we carry with us. Sometimes it's really hard to see. What is it that we have to accept? What is it do we need to address? How do we do that? Yes. Which is something, is going to be one of our next steps, is really trying to get to some of those nurses who maybe just graduated, who are just stepping into this world of instability. And all of a sudden it's like, why is this happening? But it's also giving them the courage to be able to give them the strategies of that why. So it goes back to what you're saying. Instability is a very deep ingrained thing that we've carried for centuries, and we have to be able to undo that. And then the leaders have to be able, like you said, support from the top, creating safety, creating an opportunity to be a good listener, but do something. Because if we do nothing with it, then we've got this mass exodus, which came out in it was Christy Dempsey's chapter. She stated it, over 600,000 nurses are planned to leave by 2027. What's that going to leave us with? I don't know. It's crazy, but you're on it, Nikki, and we love what you're doing. Back to you, Sharon.
Your work is so important, especially now. When we start to think about the concept of this baggage that everyone brings to the workplace, it's time to unpack our bags once and for all. It's time for a clean sweep. And when we look at the fact that every organization, no matter whether it's in healthcare or hospitality or human resources across all industries, they all have this issue. and they all have DE&I programs, but the DE&I programs do not include the most important factor, which is belonging.
Yes.
People want to know that there's a place for them and that they too belong.
And
Yes.
yeah, they
Yes.
got to feel safe. And you brought that up too. You've got to feel safe to bring up the things that are hard that people maybe don't want to hear or is hard to share. And then you have to give people, you know, out of love and respect, an ear. You know,
An
we've
ear.
got to create that environment, you know. So yeah.
Yes. And when I think about repair, if I may just add to that, you know,
Please
like
do.
if you purchase a house, let's just think about a home. When you buy a home, you have to know that at some point there are going to be repairs that need to be made, right?
Mhm.
You're never going to purchase a house and make an investment and say that was the end of it. If you do, then it becomes dilapidated. Am I wrong?
Oh,
Right?
no.
You have to think the same way when we're talking about normalizing bias, incivility. It's a part of the house that we bought. So we have to find ways to just say it's a part of the house. We're going to set aside the budget, the time, the effort, and the energy to deal with this and to make sure that we're repairing it so that our house remains strong.
I love that. What a great analogy.
Exactly.
Back to you, Sharon. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that concept as well, because it is a part of the house. It's a part of the bricks and mortar. And how
Yes,
far do we have to dig behind those walls to find out where it came from and
Right.
make those essential repairs so that it doesn't come back and haunt us?
that's
Right?
right. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, I love that
Good
analogy. That was
analogy.
great. That was really super.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is a huge concern for us. And so within your chapter,
Mhm.
if I might, Dina, I'm going to go on to that next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Within your chapter, you really gave some solid information, some solid thoughts, some great strategies in terms of what needs to happen next. There was so much information that you offered that Dina and I personally reread it multiple times just to really get a strong focus on, wow,
Yeah.
why isn't anyone doing this? Why hasn't this happened yet? Why haven't we embraced this concept? So if you had to share, Nikki, one takeaway from your chapter, one thought that will lead to transformative change across the board, what might that look like?
You know, thank you for what you said as well. Having done this work for over 10 years, I have a lot to say. You know, I called out a couple of things. You know, I called out restorative justice because it's something that I know that we need to embrace in nursing. I called out critical consciousness because I know we need to build our muscle, right, of being conscious of historical harms. And then I also spoke to a little bit of minding the gaps. So at the very end, that was something that I spoke to, and I wanted to sort of highlight that for me. And this is what I want to say to inspire other new nurses, to inspire nurse leaders who have been around for 10, 15, 20 plus years doing this work. Minding the gaps means that there are going to be places and times where we feel like giving up, right? We're going to be carrying so much weight and pressure, and it's not going to get much easier, right? We're going to be dealing with incivility, sicker patients. We're going to be asked to do more. And so what I want to encourage us to do is to mind the gaps. And those kinds of things look like, for me, being mindful of our own health. So being self-reflective on what we are feeling and being able to respond to that. When I was a new nurse, I didn't do that as well. I thought everything was personal and
We
I was
all
ready
thought
to run
that.
away, right?
Welcome to the
Right?
club.
But I was like, this is so personal. But as I evolved and as I learned and I grew, I realized that all of those moments built character, right? All of the times where I felt like I didn't know what to do and I had to learn how to do it and I had to figure things out and needed help and all of that collective wisdom. Those were the moments for me that helped prove that I could be a nurse, that I could stay in this profession, and I had something to give back. So I want everyone to know we all have something to give to this profession, and we don't have to kill ourselves doing it. Take time, engage in self-reflective practice, engage in self-recovery, self-regeneration, so that as you do whatever work you do, you have the stamina, you have the resilience, and the fortitude to keep doing that work. So that is my encouragement to all of us. And I just say, we got this. We can do this. If we go ahead and grab on, we can do this work together.
And it's a commitment to yourself.
It is a commitment.
Yes.
It's a commitment that starts with minding that gap. You're exactly right.
Yes.
But
'Cause
we
there's
need to build
gaps in
awareness
there.
first.
Yes.
We need to be
yes.
aware. the whole concept of seeking support is being aware, knowing what resources are available, and then having the gumption to go
Yes.
out there and do it.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
we want people to know too, and I think Nikki, you would agree with this. I know Sharon does. Sometimes you can't just do this on your own. Reach out
No.
across the table, get some help, get some girls or some men, or just get yourself a group of people who can
Yeah.
help you see the truth in the situation.
Yes.
Many times it's really hard to see what's actually happening because we're so overly taxed. We've got the fight flight response going on. It's hard for us to see what we can't see on our own. So we want to encourage all of you out there, if you're listening, don't deny yourself the ability to continue to heal and move forward.
That's right. Well said. Beautifully said, Dina.
Yeah,
Sharon,
that
you want
was
to
well
close us out?
stated. Yeah, I do. I'm just so smitten with your responses, Nikki, and I know that our audience is just overwhelmed by what you just shared. I think it's really, really important, but unfortunately, it's time for a close. And an invitation to join us again as we welcome another one of your peers to the program next week. If you're looking for strategies to mend a broken healthcare system, this book is so important for your reading list and for your opportunity to reflect on the wisdom, insight, creativity, and activities or actions offered by the authors and contributors. Those words came straight from Dan Peshet. We all know and respect Dan. So many others have offered advanced praise for this book and really gone out on a limb to say this must be part of your reading material, and it must be something that drives you to next steps, that takes you to action. So we're thrilled to pieces. Benjo just said Dan is his mentor. I love that. Thank you, Benjo. Another one of our contributors from Saudi Arabia. We hope that everyone, now that the book is ready for pre-order, will get online. We'll be posting the website that is specific to this book. We want pre-orders in place. We want this to really hit the market, and we want it to be in the hands of people who will make a difference. That difference will matter for your care, for Dina's care, for mine, for those near and dear to us, and for future generations. We must do this.
Well said. Well said. We want to invite you to join us next Thursday as we interview another one of our amazing authors. Let's see. Well, who do we have next Thursday? I think I was trying to think who we had. I know Bonnie Barnes will be with us on June the 27th. So Bonnie's coming up here very soon.
So next up on June 20th is Nicole George.
Oh, Nicole. Okay. Nicole George.
Okay, from Press Ganey, who will provide even greater insight. We're thrilled to pieces to welcome her as well.
Yes. So please join us. And we want to thank you, Sharon, for being a co-host with me, and also to Nikki. Thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.